Shrink yourself down to discover the world of really small science and engineering at the University of Strathclyde. Find out how researchers are making tiny nano-sized materials that are inspired by nature. So, what is nano? What's the smallest thing you can think of? Most people will say a bug or a speck of dust, but nano is even smaller than this. Across the head of a pin, you can fit 1 million nanometers side by side. This means that we can't physically see nano things with our eyes, and so we need to use powerful magnification. Taking a look at the living world around us, we are surrounded by a vast array of nano things in nature. Even our bodies are made up of lots and lots of nano building blocks. Inspired by the transportation proteins that move around inside the body, scientists and engineers have developed fluorescent nano rockets. This research uses proteins called enzymes, which in this case act as nano scissors to chop up simple fuel molecules. Because proteins are nano-sized, they are difficult to see, and so they are stuck to glowing nano-sized particles, which can be seen using a microscope. The fluorescent enzyme rockets need fuel to power them. The enzyme converts the fuel molecules into building blocks, which make nanostructures such as spaghetti-like fibres. It is thought that as the building blocks stack, they push and propel the nanorocket, making it move faster. Scientists are trying to mimic biology's architecture using simple biological building blocks and sound. Sound can be thought of as a pressure wave. Some sounds are lower than the human ear can hear, and some are higher. Tiny biological building blocks, capable of assembling into nano-sized structures, are being studied for their response to different types of sound. Below the range of human hearing, nanostructures can be formed by low-frequency mechanical shaking. At higher frequencies, the building blocks align into different structures. Audible sound can also be played to the building blocks. Think of it as a sort of tiny nano disco. In the future, a scientist or DJ could play a specific sound or song which triggers a synchronized dance in which building blocks assemble together into different nanostructures. Researchers are not only trying to mimic how nature moves and make structures at the nanoscale, but they are also interested in making simple mimics of enzymes. Enzymes are complex proteins, so scientists are making simple enzyme mimics using a much simplified version of a protein, called a peptide. Peptides are made of the same biological building blocks as proteins, but are smaller. Using peptides found on the end of a nano-sized virus, nanostructures similar to those made by sound and also seen to propel nanorockets can be made. Peptides are also being studied for their ability to act as a contraceptive. Contraceptives are important for the ever-growing human population and to help prevent unwanted pregnancies. For this study, a peptide was chosen that is produced naturally in the body and helps regulate fertility through an immune response. In order for the immune system in the body to recognise these peptides as foreign, a nano carrier particle must be used. Researchers attach peptides to these to stimulate the body's defence mechanisms against the peptides. Computers are used to predict how the peptide will attach and interact with the nanoparticle surface. These predictions can help design the best nanocontraceptive particle. Computers can also be used to make models of nano sponges. Sponge-like materials found naturally have inspired scientists and engineers to make similar tiny man-made nanosponges. Like the sponge we use in the bath, a nanosponge contains lots of tiny holes that can soak up or store useful materials. The difference is that a nanosponge has tiny nano-sized holes. These holes can be used as storage for capturing polluting gases or storing molecules that can speed up chemical reactions, useful in many industrial processes. Nanosponges made of silica are being designed at the Department of Chemical and Process Engineering at the University of Strathclyde. Silica is a naturally occurring chemical that can be found abundantly in the world of plants and animals. To find the best nanosponge design for a particular job, researchers are using computers to make models of how silica nanosponges are made and how they perform as sponges to absorb nano-sized materials. Silica is not only used to make nanosponges, but can also be used to make biologically inspired nanoparticles. Silica nanoparticles can be found in a number of important everyday products, as well as being used in many industrial processes. Because silica nanoparticles are used for a range of applications, it's important to have a simple and cheap method to produce them. Previous methods involved high temperatures and long reaction times with increased costs. So researchers at Strathclyde have developed a new method for making silica nanoparticles. This method offers a green, environmentally friendly route to producing silica nanoparticles, as well as reducing production costs and carbon emissions. Nano-sized particles made of metal are being studied as carriers for vaccines in order to prevent diseases. Within the body, certain cells of the immune system respond to foreign molecules called antigens. Nanoparticle carriers can be designed in the lab to deliver vaccines to specific cells of the immune system without harming other types of cells. To study vaccine delivery, very small volumes of fluid containing nanoparticle vaccines are transported controllably to cells using small micro-sized channels. Under the microscope, the cells can be studied to see how they behave in response to the nanoparticle vaccines. So you can see that the world of nanoscience and engineering at the University of Strathclyde is important for many different purposes, from making tiny discos and rockets to preventing diseases and keeping population growth under control.